Hello, welcome to this new episode of Continuum Gaming, and in this episode we are going to talk about another Sailfish OS related topic. As you already can see, we are going to talk about a small little update which happened again. It's just a small little update, so we're not going to take too long about that. But anyway, there are a couple of other things we are going to talk about, which are, for instance, information about the new CP3 or the C3 of Jolla, which is going to be a new smartphone that should be developed with the community more or less, and there are a couple of other informations we got about that now. It's in early stages, so don't be too excited about it or something. We are just talking about how the next steps would be, and Jolla just released something that tells us more about that. Other than that, we are going to talk about something different too, because I searched a couple of weeks more or less, but now we have a pretty good case. You already can see it here on the picture. I show it to you there, and of course, as you can see, here is my new case of the smartphone. We are going to do the update together. And while we are doing the update, I'm going to talk about everything about this case, and of course going to talk about all the information we got here for the CP3 or the C3 or whatever you want to call it. As always, I'm going to show you everything that's going on the smartphone here on the big screen, so you can see everything. But of course, because we are doing more or less an update, the smartphone has to be shut down and run again after that, which will of course cut off the line to the big screen here. And while that is happening, I'm going to show you the smartphone itself only. Other way, or the other time, I'm trying to show you both of them. We will see what's happening, okay? So, first off, let's have a look at the update. Just to let you know, there's not much to see in this update. We just had a couple of different informations what happened there. I'm going to talk about that later on, but for now I'm just going to go to my all apps list, or the apps drawer more or less. Here I can go to my settings more or less, so there are a couple of different things I have here, and one of them of course is the settings list, which I have in system at this point. If you go in there, I can click on that, and you should see there is our setting option. If you go scroll down on that there, a little bit of dust on my case there, sorry. If you scroll down here, you can go to the update for Sailfish OS. If you click on that, you will see, in my case, a very small update which was there for a couple of days now. I updated already my Xperia 10 Mark III with it, worked fine, and as you can see, this is a very small one with only 30 MBs, which will help us again for a couple of different things. To do that, we are going to download it first, which is this. As mentioned before, this is more or less the progress bar, more or less. So as you can see, there's this small little brighter part about this image, and after a while that should just be increased and going to show you everything then if the download of the update has been done. Just to let you know about this new update we have here. The new update is something that is going to help us with a couple of different things, but only if you have certain kinds of smartphones. At the moment I don't own any of them, because it's more or less all about the XA2, so Sony Xperia XA2, and there are a couple of them out there. Let's go and have a look at the release notes here first. As you can see, we have a couple of different informations here. This is a 72 update, which is just a small little update, very close to the other one, so only 12 days between those. And in the end, there was a problem for the XA2 where there was a boot loop happening when you are trying to update this. You could overcome it with going to the shell and doing stuff like that, but it was, let's say, a tedious problem you had to solve there, and that's nothing Jolla wanted to have there. So in the end, the new update should solve that. You can go down a little bit. There is information about what happened here. So the 50072. In this case, there's a couple of different things here. What you can see in this list is everything from the 70 to 72 update. So it's not all of this new to the 72 update we see here. The most important thing is more or less that you can now go to the recovery mode for the XA2 and which wasn't possible before or was hard for some cases, so it's even not at every smartphone or something. Only a couple of the smartphones with the XA2 included there had problems with it, most others didn't, and so that's more or less what we're talking about. If you go down here, we have factory reset of the Jolla C2, so if you want to really bring it back to the factory or settings in the end, so delete everything on this phone or something like that, that can be done now and wasn't possible before. What more to say? I don't think there's much more to say about this. We're just going to do the update and that's more or less it. When you go down here, you will see, hey, did you have any kind of problems and stuff like that? Have a look into that. It's always a good idea to have a look into this information. In the end, most of the people who voted, it's of course a small amount of people are only voting here, but doesn't matter, helps a little bit neither too. In the end, we have 86% where it handled it pretty nicely. We had smaller issues with 6%, and there was some which had problems, so 5% of that. I'm not sure what that means. In general, it's a very small amount of people. If you click on display tally in this case, if I click on that, you can see, okay, from more or less 187 people, around about 9 had problems really who voted here and taken in consideration more or less that people who are on the forum searching for solutions and so on are going to vote here, and the people who are not on the forums or are not going to search for solutions for their problems are not. So a lot more people didn't have any problems with this probably. Okay, so in the end, while we were talking, the update was more or less confirmed. Let's switch through this. Go here so you can see everything. Here we go. And in the end, if it's already done in this stage, you just have to go to the upper menu there, click on install, and you should see more or less the smartphone is going to turn down and do the updates and just run through it. You're going to be asked for the PIN in most cases. If you don't have a PIN enabled or something, then you will have to talk about it or have a look at that. And after that, everything should be fine. So before we go on, just as I mentioned before, we had, I'm just going to switch back here. There we go. I had searched for some kind of a nice case, fold case in many cases for me, for the C2, which isn't too easy to do because just as you all know, the C2 is something very special. It's more or less a Turkish brand where you have to search for, and if you are searching for the Turkish brand name, which is a reader with a couple of other things, don't ask me what the name was. I think it was reader S19 Plus or Max or something, I'm not sure. At the bottom I will show you the real name of it. Anyway, if you search for that, you can find a couple of different cases, and one of them is this one. I really liked it because it looks pretty nice. It has some kind of a leathery optics, as you can see. And of course there is this part which is magnetic, so it will clap into the position there, which is fine, and does it pretty nicely. Yeah, in the end, very nice case. One problem with the case, just to let you know. So everything is cut out like it should be, more or less. So as you can see, you can still use the headphone jack and stuff like that, which is still on the smartphone, which is a pretty rare thing today, but I really like it that it is like that. And as you can see, it's really made for this. because the USB-C connector is nicely cut out, and even the two speakers which are on this phone, or at least the positions that are there, you can see both are very, very well cut out too. So everything is going fine here. At the side, it's a little bit of a different story. In the end, everything is cut out nicely too. So there is more or less the button to activate it. And below those, I think that's on purpose, but I'm not sure. Below those half cutouts, what you see there, I'm not sure why they did it like that. But those are more or less covering up the sound switch or the volume up, volume down button, which is fine because you can easily click them, you can easily see them and stuff like that. I'm just not sure why they did it like this and why they just not left it open or used some kind of a rubber button or something that is on there. But no matter what, or it doesn't really matter because it's just working like it should. So everything is fine. You can easily click them and use the buttons there. The only thing that you are losing more or less is the haptic feedback a little bit. So if you are trying to find the buttons without looking or something, it's a little bit of a hassle because you really can't find them by just wiping with the finger or something, or trying to touch it. Doesn't matter, doesn't help you. And just to let you know, I am asked for my key here, so I'm going to put in my little pin. And that's more or less what's happening here. He's going to activate the smartphone now, as mentioned before in other update videos. Sailfish OS is shown, and now you will have to, sorry for all the glare, you will have to wait till the update is done. As you can see, it's a very fast one because it's really just the smallest you can think of. It's only 30 MBs in this case. Some people even said it would be only 3 MBs or something. For others, it's a little bit more, depending on from which version you are updating. That's of course the case. In the end, if you, for instance, vibrate it to signal that it's going to restart here, and there's a new, but there's more or less a start screen again. Everything seems to be fine at the moment. Anyway, if you, for instance, update from an earlier version than 71, then it might be larger. That's just normal. If you update from 71 to 72, as I am doing in this case, it should be very, very fast and very, very easy to do. Okay, so we are just going to let it run through. As mentioned before, there's not much to see in this update. It's just a small little care update, which helps a little bit with this update bug they had there, or it was not an update bug. It was more or less something where it stuck. It got stuck in a boot loop or in an update loop. Not a boot loop, I think it's an update loop. And then you would have to go to your console and put in some information about that. If you want to know more about that, I will try to link an article about all this in the section down below where you can read about it. It's a small little hassle, but it was for some people a little bit of a trouble, more or less. So let's just wait till they updated that and everything's fine. For now, till that has happened, we can talk about something new, because we have the next gen Jolla phone, which of course will be the C3, sorry for the name. In the end, the C3 is going to be the next Jolla phone. You all know about that if you watched my videos before. If not, go up there, I will link them there. Anyway, in the end, what we are talking about here is just that they are confirming that they are willing to do it. They are going to talk about how everybody wants to participate, and they more or less introduced a new name. I didn't know the name, whatever. It's called a DIT, so not do it yourself in this case, but do it together in the end. And in the end, Linux phone with do it together approach in this case, where they're talking about everything here. They are talking about that they would need at least 2,000 pre-orders for this smartphone to be happening. Okay, that's reasonable, I would say. And in the end, they are talking about the screen size, for instance. As they asked in the survey they did before, they are trying to aim for a smartphone size below 6.5. Yeah, don't talk about 4, okay? We're not talking about any kind of 4-inch smartphone or whatever. Some people like that. First off, I don't. I like a small, larger screen. I think that's just a more viable thing to do with a smartphone, where you are going to use it for many different things, but only calling stuff or something. And then it's nice to have a larger one. Anyway, they are talking about that it should be a little bit smaller than 6.5, which is pretty large. As you can see, this one is in that dimensions, and it's really not the smallest one. As you can see, it's pretty big with a case at least on it. And of course the overall dimensions are pretty big too. I can see why people don't like this one, or why they don't want it that big. And so if they are, for instance, aiming for, I don't know, 5.9, 5.7, something like that, that would be fine with me. That's a pretty good size for me, and I think that's a good idea to go for. Otherwise, what they're talking about here is more or less the aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio of the Sonys is something special. Do I have my here? Yeah, I have. Let's have a look at that. They're a little bit special with theirs because, as you can see, it's more or less very tall in the end and pretty slim at the sides here. I like that because like that it's very easy to go with your finger from one side to the other, but some people don't like it. They are talking about in-between stuff, so we are talking about something that would be not 16:9, you can't get that today. They're talking about that too, that it's very hard to get a 16:9 display or something. Don't ask for that. But in the end, something in between that, okay? I think this one, the Sony smartphones here are, I think, at 21 or 22:9 or something. So pretty tall and not very wide. They are talking about that they want to do it a little bit wider, but still in more or less wide or tall configuration, whatever. That is one of the things I really like about the more or less the C2 in this case, because the C2 has a very a different aspect ratio, which is nice too. It has one major improvement over those very slim ones, that is more or less that you are very easily hitting all the right keys. And in some situations, if you have larger fingers like I do, then you might run into trouble with typing on this, because if you have a full-blown keyboard out down there where you can put in everything, it's a little bit hard to get exactly the right button, because it's a very slim, small button on that screen size. It's fine, you can still use it perfectly well, but you have to get used to it a little bit before you're going to be perfect with it. And on the C2, for instance, that was no trouble at all for me, especially after coming from this smartphone, of course. Anyway, they're talking about that one, of course. What they're talking about in addition to that is something about the hardware itself and the software itself. So they're talking, hey, we want to give you long software support. If that is the case, then the smartphone should, of course, hold that time. So in the end, if it's going to break down, you can't get software for it anymore because it's broken, okay? So that is more or less what they're talking about. They're talking about something else, which isn't the best thing to hear, but very, common sense, more or less. In the end, they're talking about that it can't be the cheapest smartphone ever, okay? Perfectly fine for me, because they're of course talking about, hey, we have a small amount of smartphones we are going to produce in this case, in comparison of course to something like an iPhone or whatever. And of course, since that is the case, and they want to add a couple of different features and stuff like that that are not very common in the smartphone area anymore, that might increase the price a little bit. For instance, as you can see, which is a great thing to hear, they are targeting and things that they can do pretty much everything that we ask for. So SD card extension should be fine, fingerprint reader should be available, dual SIM should be available, NFC should be available, maybe an indication LED would be nice, and that's for instance all in the Sony Xperia 10 Mark III in this case. At least, I'm not sure about the NFC thing, but everything else should be, I think so. And of course that's something that, and a headphone jack for instance is something else. If you really want all those features, it's pretty hard today to get a smartphone that can do everything of that. And because of that, they are talking about all of this in this article. If you want to know more about this article, read it in a better fashion than just hearing it from me, just have a look in the commentary section or in the video description box. I'm going to put everything in there too. Yeah, and other than that, let's have a look how far the smartphone got here. Interestingly, it shut down. I'm not sure why. Maybe I saw that before. I think if you are not reacting to it for a longer period of time after you are on the login screen or something and you didn't log in for the first time, then it's just going to shut down. I think it's for saving battery or something. I'm not sure about that, but that happens from time to time. So back again, I can insert my key here or my pin. Hopefully at least I can. Yeah, okay. And after that, we are just going to wait a little. It takes a little to wake up after that. I'm not sure why that is on the Sony Xperia 10 Mark III, for instance, and the 2.2, I think you always see something on the screen. At this part you don't, but if you look very closely, you can see that the screen is enlightened. So there's a little bit of a backlight situation here, and you just will have to wait a couple of seconds after the first restart at least, till you see something. And here we go. After, sometimes I have to click on it, I don't know why, or if it's always the case, I just click and then it's coming back, and that's fine for me. As you can see, we are in there. I will have to put in my key again, because I have a SIM key and I have of course the key of the smartphone itself, so those are there on my smartphone here. And as you can see, we are back in the part. Everything is fine. We should be able to see something after refreshing at least. Let's see, yeah, there we are. You can already see that everything is working again, which is fine for me. And just to let you know that we are now on the newest version, let's go to the settings here. Go a little bit down. Just to let you know, if you just started the smartphone, it will feel a little bit sluggish. That's normal for the smartphone. After a while, talking about I think 30 seconds to 1 minute or something, after that while you should see everything in the normal behavior, normal smartphone speed, which isn't the greatest, but it's fine. And as you can see, we are on the 72 version now. And yeah, this is more or less what I wanted to show you and talk about in this episode. I hope you had fun with this episode. If so, please give this video a thumbs up, of course. If you didn't subscribe to the channel till now, please do that right now. It's a button down below and it doesn't cost anything, but it helps a lot to spread the news about Sailfish OS, of course, and just to get more people watching this content. And other than that, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. If you have any kind of questions, comments, whatever, put them down below in the commentary section. And other than that, have a great night, or whatever it is for you, and see you around in the next episode. Bye. Bye.